Now, I would love to sit here and say, oh, my calendar and task management setup is really simple and it's quick to follow, but realistically, that's not the case. My calendar is actually my entire life. It's got projects, goals, tasks, sprints from work, home, various jobs, volunteering stuff. So I want to show you how I'm managing it with busy, free, booking links, just everything. Now, I do want to say I use Morgan. It's a paid calendar app and I do work for them in customer support, but the main reasons I use Morgan Calendar is because I can bring in multiple task integrations, as you can see at the top, and I have an Outlook calendar, Google Calendar, and use them all together in this view with loads of other shortcuts that just speed me up throughout my day, which I'll show you in a minute. I mean, the first one, which is the easiest, there's nothing on the screen. Alt-C, global hotkey, I push D to go to the day view, and it's on today. I can use the arrow keys to go backwards and forwards in my day. If I go backwards loads and push T, it shows up. I then drag it to the top, push W, go to the week view, and that quick global hotkey I use all of the time. But if I push P on my keyboard, I'm going to go to Preferences. You can see inside of the Preferences tab, I'm in General. At the top, my default calendar is my Events calendar, and my default calendar for tasks is my Task calendar. Both of those are actually Google calendars. If I go to my active calendars, we can see I've got a personal Google calendar with lots of different calendars, all in here. I will go through these a little bit later on. I then have an Outlook work calendar, which is the Morgan work calendar, internal, out of office, and all the other events that happen inside of Morgan. And then I have a subscription calendar. Now, I live in East Sussex in the UK, and this is the term dates for schools. And I want to know when the schools are in and out because of my trampolining work. If I go back to the general settings, what these default calendars do is it gives me, I can pick any of the calendars I want, I can pick the last calendar, but it means that whenever I create an event, it will go to my personal events calendar, and whenever I create a task, it will go to my personal tasks calendar. Now, why do I have them on different calendars? The first reason is purely visual. I can see this is in the blue calendar because there's the blue thick line there, so this is a task in the task calendar. In Morgan, I can also see it's a task because I've got a tick box and it's only got the outline, and then events are thicked events. You can see these are events, these are events. This is also an event, but it's a free event, not a busy. I'll go through that in a minute. But the orange and blue, I can visually see they are different. However, the other advantage inside of Morgan, if I go to this little calendar icon, see the numbers next to these calendars? These are called calendar sets, and I've got the event and the tasks all inside of calendar set 0, 1, and 2. And what this means is if I push 2 on my keyboard, for example, it's going to hide other things. If I push 3, it will hide even more things, everything in here. I push 1, it's going to show me all of my day. If I push 0, it's going to show me every single calendar I have inside of Morgan, which does look a little bit busy. And for those of you looking at the name of the events, because I know some of you will do, this is actually test. It's to do with my dad's work. So they're not test events for developing, they are actually tests. So I can push 1 on my keyboard to bring back the events and the tasks and the habits, but hiding all of those other calendars. You can see I've got dinner, which is a green task. And if I push 2 on my keyboard, it's now hidden away those habits. So now I don't see all of the recurring tasks and just the main tasks and events that I want to get done. This is my focus view. This is my planning view for when I want to just look at the tasks that I got to get done, not everything else, which is what I'm normally in, which is my one view. And so these two calendars are my main personal working calendars, the events and the tasks, but I also have the work calendar, which, as you can see inside of work, I've actually changed the calendar color to orange. So if we go to the 3 dots, you can pick any color from any hex code or anything like that. And I have my work calendar and my personal events calendar look the same. So when they are merged, if I push the arrow key to go to the next week, you can see we've got sprint, and I double click. You can see this is actually in 2 different calendars. It's in my work calendar with the Morgan team, and then if I go to the next calendar, it is then also in my events calendar, which is my personal calendar, which was done by Morgan Assist. It's one of Morgan's workflows. So it's automatically created an event from my work calendar in my personal calendar. But when I look from the outside, it just looks like the same color. It's just one orange color. If I go back, and for the sake of demonstration, turn on the East Sussex Deaf Children event, I was doing these today, hence the purple shirt. These events are exactly the same as the last one, but you can see we've got 2 because they're in different calendars. In my event calendar, East Sussex Deaf Children. These are merged events, but we've got the purple and the orange. So I can see there is another calendar involved in this that isn't my normal, regular personal or work calendars, which gives me a visual cue to say, hey, this is somewhere else. But coming back to this calendar propagation workflow, what it does is if I go into Morgan, click on the crossed arrows, you can see we've got workflows. There are various workflows. I use all three of these at the top, and this is the workflow I'm using to make an event in my work calendar appear in my personal calendar. You can see I've got work to personal, it's currently active, I can manually run it, I've got a few others as you can see. That means anytime there is an event created on this calendar within the next 14 days, because that's when the workflow works, an event will also be created in my personal events calendar. And that's useful because my family look at when I'm busy, when I'm on a call, when I'm in a meeting. And so my family can see my events calendar and they know when I'm busy at work because the events propagate from my work calendar to my personal calendar, which is why they're all orange. Then if I look at the all day section, if I double click on this one, you can see this is free. The same with the Deaf Awareness Week. It is also free, and so they are faded out events. These are faded because they're in the past, and all of these events are in the past. If I create an event tomorrow, just blocked and save it, see it's busy, and I save it, defaulted to the events calendar, it's currently a thick orange. If, however, I double click, change it to free, and then save, now it's a different faded out, and you can see that is what all of these are. They are faded out because they're in the past, but also look different, but they're in the same calendar because they're free events. So I'm going to left click, delete to my keyboard to delete that event. And they are free because I don't have to turn up. It's not something I need to do, but it's something that I could do. I could join any of these meetings and anything else that's going on. So you can see I've got a support call. It's in my events calendar, so my family can see I might be on a support call. Don't know yet. Is looking at my events calendar. And if I scroll down, my task calendar and my work calendar. So any busy events inside of these three calendars, which I'm setting as busy, will be blocked off from my booking links. If I go into the booking links page, you can see video chat with me. If I click on the link, you can see we get to the booking links page and it then shows the available times. If I go to the link icon and quickly create an open invite, so let's just say all of that time is where I want to be available. So I'm creating an open link from the invite. It's moved me into the open invite. Let's just go test invite. Let's just call it 20 minutes. It's going to create the event on my events calendar. I could copy the text, I don't really want to. I'm going to leave all of those like that. And you can see it's checking the availability of those three calendars. So it's going to check my events calendar, my work calendar, and my task calendar for busy events, specifically busy events. So let's copy the link and show you what I mean. So at the moment, from 4 all the way through till 8:25, that is when I am available. But if I block out the time from 4 till 6, and this is a busy event in my events calendar, let's save it, and then I come over to the open invite and refresh. It's not going to do anything because I was on Monday, not Sunday. Let's try that again. Save and refresh. Now you can see those spaces have been blocked, but if I double click and then turn it to a free event and then save, now when I go to refresh, I'm now available to be booked. Now this also works when working inside Teams. Inside Morgan, because it imports all of the calendars, you can see I've got Simplicity Specialist. Their calendar is inside of my calendar, so I can see that one calendar if they are busy or not, because it will show busy or free events. But it's only for that shared calendar. Inside of Morgan Teams, because I'm in a Morgan team, you can see there are some team members there, I actually can see all of their busy calendars. So if I go to the availability, I can see all of the busy calendars that they put in their availability as busy. They will see me as busy if, for example, I have a busy task, not just a busy event. And it works the same way. So if I click on David's face, for example, you can see he's busy. These might be events, or they might be tasks, maybe focus time tasks that he's like, nope, I'm busy this time. You can't call me, you can't contact me right now. Apparently he's busy tomorrow doing something. I don't know what, but he is. And if we use next week as an example, you can see I haven't really done anything. I haven't planned for next week. Currently in my settings, in general settings, the transparency of scheduled tasks are free by default. So when I create a task here, let's just type task. You can see the calendar has automatically changed to tasks, new task, and then enter. This is now a new task. I double left click and it is a free task, so it's not blocking my calendar. But if I change this to busy and then save, now all of my team know actually I am busy at this time, but it's a task, not an event. but I'm actually going to unschedule and delete that task because I don't want it. Which brings me back to the event calendar sets, because I can push 5 on my keyboard and it will hide all of my personal stuff and show me just the deaf community stuff. So if I push M, I can see there are all the events that I could be attending. Or I can go to week and push 6, and now I'm looking at all of the sports locally in my area, so I can see what sports are going on, where people could go to, and other coaches that I can speak to about trampoline, basketball, gymnastics, whatever. And then I can go back to my own stuff on 2 or 1. Editor Danny here. The calendar's at 5 with all of the deaf events. The reason they're on different calendars is because I share them publicly on East Sussex Deaf Children's Society, so it's a deaf calendar that's public. And then on my calendar set 6 with all of the sports calendars, these are also on public calendars. So I have public-facing calendars and private calendars that aren't shared with anyone in the same Morgan account. And another thing about events before I move on to tasks is this, as the Deaf Awareness is where I was, it's currently a public event. So everyone in my family can see it's a public event. People at work can't see it because this is my personal calendar. But if I wanted to do something and I wanted my family to know I'm busy, but I don't want them to know what I'm doing, then I can actually keep it as a private event. So it shows up as busy on their calendar because, well, if it's busy, but it won't tell them any information. So they know I'm busy doing something, but they won't know what. And as you can see, as I've changed that event to busy, I'm now actually doing something. Morgan is giving me a little prompt saying, hey, you've got some tasks there, maybe you shouldn't do that. Whereas if I change this back to free and save, free, Morgan doesn't consider that an issue because you're not doing anything, you're not busy at that time, which is another advantage of having the free and busy visual differences with events. You know, I thought this was going to be easy. Every time I look at Morgan, I realize, oh yeah, there's that thing as well. Travel time. If I go back into the workflows, what this workflow does is it looks to see if there is a location in an event, and if there is, it will automatically create an event to tell me roughly how long it's going to take to get there, and also get to where you're going, in my case home. So I've got my home address in there, so it goes, hey, from home to the place that you've just added in the event, it is this long. So if I go back to this calendar, you can see this is where I was going. It's going to take roughly this long to get to that place. So it took me about 15 minutes. Google Maps said it was a little bit longer because of traffic, but yeah, so it gives me an idea on the calendar, and I don't have to do that. Morgan does it automatically if I add a location into the event. Oh yeah, and yeah, stuff just keeps coming. So actually most of my team don't work in the same time zone as me, and so I have time zones inside of Morgan. You can see my main time zone is London, Europe, because I'm from the UK, but my recent time zone is Zurich because that's the time zone they use. I also have all of these other secondary time zones that I can see. I can either go to the time and then it will show me the time of night and then the difference to me. But what I actually find really useful is if I'm here, I can push Z on my keyboard and then it will show the time zone for the event there. So if I come this side and say, okay, there's a live stream going on here, I push Z, I can see what time it is in Zurich, which in this case is actually 8 o'clock start instead of 7 o'clock start. So I know I can tell my team, or the Morgan team, hey, I'm doing a live stream about Morgan here. It's going to be, or when is it? Oh, it's 8 o'clock start for you, or if they're in America, LA, it's 11 a.m. or whatever the time is. So that Z hotkey, which, if you forget, is actually explained in the eye icon here in the time zone. It says push Z while hovering over an event. That is really useful if you're going between time zones and you want to look at many time zones at the same time. And also moving along at the top, we've got the notification bell at the moment. I don't have any notifications in my inbox, which is why it's not glowing yellow. But if someone invites me to a meeting, any sort of meeting, it will appear at the top here. I'll get to the AI planner later, but let's go over tasks. As you can see, I use a lot of tasks to make sure that I get stuff done. All of the habits are recurring tasks. They are in the habits calendar. If I go up to the calendar icon, you can see I've got a habits calendar, which is stored in Google. 0 and 1. Again, mainly for the color differences, I can see their habits, so I know roughly when I'm going to eat or when I'm going to do the newsletter or anything else in the morning. So if I just zoom in a little bit, so I'm using a shortcut, of course. If I push P and then go to shortcuts, you can see all of the shortcuts inside of here. I'm using this one here at the moment, increase and decrease time resolution, so I can zoom in and zoom out. So if I zoom in, you can see medication, morning water, emails, and then plan my day. I use the AI planner for that, but they're all habits that I do inside of the morning. So let's just zoom out a bit. And they are all in the green habits calendar, but they are also, when I double click, inside of a task list, which is also green. And that is the box that's hovering around the check mark. If we have a look at the complex calendar video, it's blue on the outline because it's in the task calendar, which is blue, and then there's no color on the box. If I double click, it's in my inbox, so there's no color on the box. However, if we go to the organized parents, we've got the blue thick line, but now there's an orange outline and an orange checkbox, because when I double click, this is in the orange trampoline task list. So you've got two different colors for a task, blue and orange, blue for the calendar, orange for the task list. Dinner is green for the calendar and green for the task list because I want it all green. Over here, you'll notice we've got a blue and a pink because if we go to the pink one, this is in the Morgan task list. So I know it's a task because it's in my task calendar and allows for filtering, but it's pink because it's related to Morgan work. And the task lists are over in the task list sidebar. I can push space to close it down to just see the calendar, or space to open it up. If we go into the inbox, you can see they are all my inbox tasks. I'm showing the importance, so that's high importance, medium importance, and then these don't have any importance. I then have due dates, I have estimate times, and it's showing this one's actually scheduled. All sessions are in the past because it's here, which will be asked to reschedule later on, which I'll go through later. Flower list, this is scheduled later. Yeah, today at 8:15. Down there you go. And then it's telling me everything inside of the sidebar. I don't tend to use the sidebar because most of the stuff is in my calendar or appears up here in the lists, which are due lists, or I rely on the AI planner to tell me what's going on, which again, I will go through later. And tasks is where Morgan can be a little bit confusing for some people that use regular task managers. If I click on this task, there is a due date. So it's due on the 10th, i.e. today. But when we have a look inside of the calendar and go to the flower list and I double click, we've got the due date down here. But I've got a planned start and planned end. And this is where it can get a little bit complex. Because if I was to copy this task, so click and then Control C, so it's copy the task and then I click for tomorrow and then paste. It's not created a new task. It's still the same task, but it's a multiple session. So I've got two different sessions of the same task. So when I double click, this has got a planned start of the 11th and planned end of the 11th at 8 to 8:30, but all the other stuff is still the same. If I come into this flower list, change the importance from high to medium and then save, the task has been updated. You see it's been updated in the task sidebar. When I go to this task session, the importance has also been updated because it's still the same task. It's just got a different planned start time and planned end time. And you can have as many of these sessions as you want. And you'll notice there's now two calendars underneath the name inside of the task sidebar, and it says multiple sessions. The next one is today at 8:15. If I was to move this back in time, so now it's in the past, and now have a look, I've got multiple sessions. The next one is tomorrow at 8 p.m. And so we now have multiple sessions of a task rather than the one scheduled slot you're going to do it, and then a due date. When I left click this task, I'm selecting it, and when I push delete, it doesn't actually delete the task. It unschedules that slot. So now you can see there's only one calendar instead of two. I can drag this back on, and let's say I'm going to do it there. Now I've got two session slots, and I could create another one there. So now we've got three session slots. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the slot for Sunday, and what you may have noticed is flower list is also appearing at the top in the all day section, and this is actually a due date. So Morgan is showing me the due date of the task, the session planned start and planned end time here, and session planned start and end time here, and I can also see it in the task sidebar. Some of you may be using Morgan, and if you can't see it in the task sidebar, push view, and then you can show or hide the scheduled task in the sidebar. So if I click it off, because it's been scheduled, it's now being hidden. If I click it on, because it's been scheduled, it's now showing. And what's really useful about this is if I move the flower list to today, because that's the due date's been updated. If I add a session, so this session at 10:30 till 11, if I realize, actually, you know what, I can't do it, and I move it to tomorrow, task updated, the due date has been updated, and now that flower list due date has also been moved. If I push P in preferences and then look at this setting, it says move task due date. I have it set to always. So whenever I schedule some session for a task after the due date, it's always going to move it. Or you can have it ask every time or just never. I don't know why you would never want a due date to be updated, but Some people have that use case. And so I can keep track of my deadlines of all the tasks like this. If I drag the due date back, you'll now notice this scheduled session looks different. And that's because it's warning me. It's saying, hey, this task is scheduled after its due date. So we've got a checkerboard background and we've got a warning sign that says this is scheduled after the due date. So you'll always know if there is a scheduled session after a due date because it visually shows. Again, another really small but significant thing when scheduling tons of tasks everywhere. And what I realized I probably should have done is actually gone to a custom view. So let's just quickly set that one up. So I've gone D to today, go back one day to get it on Friday, push Control-3, and now I'm in a 3-day view. You can do that with as many days as you have numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can have a 9-day view. So if I push Control-9 on my keyboard, it's now got 9-day view. If I push X, we've got 2 weeks, which is 14 days, but let's go back to the 3 days so we can see what's going on and zoom in again. Now the flower list is due today. I also have 4 other things that are due today, which I can see at the top of my all day section. I can actually hide these, so go to view, scroll down, it says manage due dates on the calendar. I can turn it off or turn it on. I like to see them, so I keep them at the top. And I will also see them in the due today list. If I go to view, I can scroll down. You can see I can enable the due today list, or tomorrow, or due soon. The overdue is always there, but it means that I can see the due dates on the calendar, and I can also see them in the task list. And I find this useful because I can look at it and go, actually, you know what, I need to schedule this again, and I can just drag it over to the next day, and now it's just updated the due date, so I'm going to delete those. This is bulk deleting as well, so I've left-clicked, hold Control on my keyboard, left-click, and now I'm going to delete both of those sessions. Yes, please delete that. But I have them in the task sidebar, so I can easily schedule them in, and the due date has updated, so let's drag that back so I know it's actually due today. So when I want a quick view of the main task that I need to get done, like right now, high priority tasks, I'm looking at the due list, even though I may have other things scheduled. So you can see I've got other things in here that aren't appearing up in my due today list because they don't have a due date. There's no deadline. They're just things that I'd like to kind of get done. But these are just the Morgan tasks. Morgan tasks are great and can be recurring. So if I create a task here, so let's go task, you can see we've got the repeat option. So I can click in here every day, every week, every weekday, or add some customs. So every second of month. AI, sort that out, make that make sense. There you go. Every month on the 2nd. So Morgan has recurring tasks, but when I'm driving, I can't add something to Morgan because I need Voice Assistant, and that's where Google Tasks comes in. Or if I'm adding a task from Gmail, Google Tasks come in. So all of the tasks that come in from Gmail get added and are organized in basically the same way. I have a trampoline task list. I have a Morgan task list. You can see there it is. I just don't have any tasks in there at the moment. The same with Def. I don't have any tasks in there at the moment because I'm hiding empty groups. If I show the empty groups, now I can see all of them. But I personally don't like that in my Google Tasks. So I can see I just have tasks from trampoline task list, and it's essentially the same as Morgan, except I'm bringing it in a different way. Outlook email is for flagged emails inside of Outlook from Morgan Work. Notion, I've got loads of databases. I've got 2 databases. This one was recently changed, which is why it's untitled. But I have 2 databases in here with loads of stuff in each of them. I'm not going to show you them because it's work related. And then I have my Obsidian Vault, which has, as you can see, 46 tasks, which are related to projects in there. And I actually have saved filtered views for this. So when I click to this filter, I can see everything. And so inside of my everything view, as you can imagine, has filters from my Google Tasks, Todoist, which was in the past. I had Linear in here in the past, Outlook, Microsoft To Do, Notion database, as you can see, there's the untitled one. And, oh, there's a broken, oh yes, because the research list no longer exists. So let's just remove that, go to the filter, Morgan, and let's add trampoline, Morgan, Dev Community, and inbox in there, then update. There's a little icon. That's the name of it. I can search for an icon in here. I can change the color, add any color I want, and then save. And this is my everything view. If I want to see the how-to videos that I'm making for the Morgan channel, I can see them in here. As you can see, there's nothing currently found because, like I said, I changed the database very recently. I then got Morgan tasks, so there's quite a few in here. Research-related things, which are again filtered for an Obsidian tag and a Morgan task list, and then trampoline related things. So I'm looking at the Google task list and the Morgan task list that are trampoline. So I've got a filtered view for the areas that I want to focus on. That could be a client, that could be a job, that could be home or work or whatever you're volunteering for. Now the simplest thing with the AI planner, which I love and I use all of the time, is if an event appears. So let's say someone booked, or I'm going out to the pub this evening and let's say I'm going there. What Morgan will do is say, hey, that conflicts. What do you want to do with all the tasks that you had planned to do right now? I could reschedule them as soon as possible, which it looks like it's going to throw them all at the start of my day, which isn't ideal. Actually, if I zoom out, you'll see what I mean. So reschedule, it's now showing the tasks hovering, so you can see, I won't move my mouse because then it will stop showing what it looks like, but the flower list is hovering just below the blocked pub session that I suggested, and then I've got the 3 tasks tomorrow in that free blocked session. Because it's not busy, Morgan AI is like, hey, you don't think you're busy here, so we're going to put it there. And you'll also notice the Send Leander membership email is actually got checkered background because it's after the due date. So the AI planner is telling me, hey, you can move it there, but it's going to be after the due date, which means I may want to reprioritize with the AI planner, and that is using frames. Unfortunately, I'm actually booked out the entire time because we're coming towards the end of the day, and I should technically be eating now according to my calendar, but I got home late. But reprioritizing with the AI planner, you can see actually some of those tasks have been moved to different days. You'll notice the flower list is now tomorrow morning, and then I have a couple of other tasks on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in the morning, and I've also got a couple of hovering tasks around 7 o'clock on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday as well, and that's because they are Morgan tasks, and I don't want to be doing Morgan tasks on Sunday because I don't want to be working on Sunday, so they are being put in frames that I've specified Morgan to put them in. I could then just unschedule the tasks, so all those tasks that are being blocked off is unscheduled, or I can say, actually, you know what, ignore that, I know what I'm doing, which I do because I'm just going to delete the event because I don't need. But that conflict resolution works with busy events and busy tasks. So if I know actually this video is going to take far longer, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste that down here because it's going to take me a bit longer. Now it's going to say, hey, you've got some conflicts. What are you going to do with it? I'm going to reschedule this as soon as possible. I'm going to click the button and now I've got everything just moved later on in the evening. And so I'm going to complete that session and say, yep, I've finished it, got some confetti going. But what are these frames that I'm talking about? That is all this, what looks like blurred stuff in the background. This is an entire frame. I've called it everything. If I go to edit, you can see all of those filters that were in my everything saved filtered view is now in this frame. So anything that is accepted in the save filter will be accepted inside of this frame, this time frame between 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock, and that's on every Saturday and Sunday. I've pushed 3 on my keyboard, so I'm hiding everything for a second. To create a frame, I can left click, drag, and you see I'm currently in an event. I could change it to a task, or I can go over to a frame. And this is the frame that I have all over, but it's in my task calendar because I want all of the tasks that are scheduled by the AI to go into my task calendar, not my events calendar because of the reasons I mentioned earlier. For demonstration purposes, I'm actually going to change this to my habits calendar and I'm going to save. So Morgan's now turned on my habits calendar so I can see that calendar. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to push the AI planner button at the top right of my screen. And what Morgan has done is it's looked at the frame and gone, okay, you've got this amount of time. This is your high priority task right now that you really need to get scheduled in to be completed. But actually I don't want to do that, so I'm going to ignore that task and I want it to give me some other suggestions. And here are all those other suggestions that we have that I have to get done today, but obviously they are actually scheduled. I'm just hiding those calendars. So if I push 1 on my keyboard, it's now done a lot of recalculation. And because I've pushed 1, you can now see all of the other hovering tasks that it's suggesting for me to do. So I can again ignore this task. It's going to reshuffle my day. Let's say, actually, Sir Alex Ferguson, you're going to take way longer than that. You're going to take 2 hours. So it's going to increase the task length of that one. And Morgan's actually decided, you know what, you don't have time to do all of that if you're going to get all these other things done, which admittedly looks rather busy. So what I could do is come over to the side and change some of the settings. You see at the moment it says schedule tasks with no due date. So some of these have no due date. If I turn this off, a lot of them are going to disappear. There you go, they're all gone. And I've got no breaks in here either, so I'm actually going to increase this dial to add loads of breaks between my work, so you can see now I've got some spaces, or Morgan is suggesting to have some spaces in between these tasks. Morgan's also notifying me of, that task that I ignored. Well, it's still here because I've got a due date on it, 5th of May, which is actually in the past because it's overdue. But Morgan's telling me, hey, you've got an overdue or due tasks here. Do you want to schedule them? And I could left click and drag them on. I could drag things on from the sidebar inside the left as well, drag them in, but I don't want to, so I'm going to click on the X because I don't want to schedule any of those. And I use the AI Planner at the beginning of the day, but at the beginning of the day, if there's any tasks that are left over, it will actually give me a pop-up and say, hey, do you want to reschedule these tasks from yesterday? In which case, most of the time I say, yes, please reschedule on the day. Then I push the AI Planner button to plan my day, and any other spaces that are available will be filled inside of these timeframes with the appropriate tasks. So inbox, if I double click on the label, you can see tasks from Trampoline or Inbox or Google Tasks will go into there. If we go to the start of the week, you can see Morgan. If I double click, all of the Morgan stuff. I then have a blank space just in case I need to put something in there because it is Monday and Mondays tend to be a bit chaotic for me. Oh wow, how can I forget? And then there's also the command bar. Yeah, so if I push P on the keyboard and then I go to general and scroll all the way down, you can see we've got, oh no, it's grace period. No, this one. The global command bar is currently enabled. What this means is if I click on that button, we've got the command bar, or I can push Control K, or if the app is down, I can then push Control Shift K and it brings up the command bar. And from here, I can add events. You can see we've got the calendar tip, the attendee tip, location tip, and tag tip down the bottom, or I can add a task. So if I wanted to add a task in today, so do this thing, 9 p.m. It's actually going to take me 20 minutes and it's going to be due tomorrow. Let's say it's Morgan related and it's high importance. Let's actually put it to the task. Let's put it to the task calendar. It would default to the task calendar, but let's put it there anyway. Save it. Now that's going to appear, and obviously it's the same time because I've got loads of stuff down there. But let's just get rid of that. But you can see now it's been added down the bottom. Do this thing scheduled inside of the calendar. Now I'm actually going to delete this because I don't want it. So unschedule and delete. Delete. And something else I've just realized that I need to tell you. God, this video is just me going, oh yeah, and this and that. So if I go to a task over here, let's just task and then example task and save. We've got the task created. At the moment, it is currently in the inbox as example task. Oh, I have another one over there. Let's delete that one for the moment. So deleting a task gets rid of it. When you complete a task, it archives. So you can see it's currently in the task sidebar. When I left click, it's now going to be completed. You can see the task will be archived, but I can keep it in the sidebar. So I'm going to push it in. I think I did it in time. And now it's stayed in the sidebar. So I can schedule it again. And then I can, so there we got the multiple sessions because we've got one that's completed, one that isn't completed. And so when I complete it, it will then go, boop, the task will be archived, and then I can push keep in sidebar. I'm not going to keep it in the sidebar. And so the task has been updated, and now the task has been archived. If I go to view and then click show archive tasks, it will then show me the archive tasks. And you can bring them back if you want to, or you can delete them all, but that's where you can keep a task if you think, actually, you know what, I haven't quite finished this yet. I finished the session, but I need to do some more. You can keep it in the sidebar to schedule it again.